Welcome to The Green Light. I'm your host, Shayla Nees, and I'm so grateful you've taken the time to listen to our Green Light conversation. Before I intro my guest, make sure you're supporting the show by leaving comments and ratings wherever you're listening. Those small gestures really make a difference and give solid feedback so that the show can keep improving. I truly value hearing how you feel about the guests I curate for the show, and so I just want to thank you in advance for the support. Let's get into our guest. We're going behind the music with singer-songwriter ARZLEE to talk about the songwriting process as an artist, his latest EP and how it differs sonically from earlier projects, and so much more. So, without further ado, enjoy my conversation with ARZLEE. So I'm super excited to have my guest with me, ARZLEE, on The Green Light with Shayla Nees. And to kickstart this conversation, I'm curious to know what sparked your interest in becoming an artist.
Well, I've just always been a music person, like for as long as I can remember. Even my mom and family kind of described me as a musical baby. I would say what really was like the kickoff, my grandmother is a singer. She grew up and still sings in the church. I call her the funeral singer of Starkville, Mississippi, because if there's a funeral, she's singing at it. But it's just like watching her perform my whole life was very inspiring to me. But I've always been drawn to sonics and music and music videos, especially as a child. Like I came up in the era of TRL and 106 and all these like video countdowns. So it was just always something I was so inundated with, like for as long as I can remember. I've just always loved music. I've always loved that expression, especially R&B music. I hold it very near and close to my heart, and I care about it a lot. So yeah, I'd say a lot of those experiences kind of led me to just growing up always wanting to sing.
Yeah, so in the early beginnings, like were you in like the church choir or your school choir? What were some of your outlets to really, get into singing?
Well, I grew up with crippling stage fright. I'll even take it to say I just really, really recently got over this crazy stage fright that I used to have, probably in the last 3 years or so. But growing up, my mama didn't really force me to go to church with her. She would go to that 7:00 service and baby, I'm in the bed. My grandmother, however, every single summer I went to Mississippi and stayed with her from the day school let out to the day school got back in. And it was a no questions thing for her. You're going to be in this choir. You're going to sing.
Yeah.
You're going to do this. You have this gift. You need to use it. So I grew up singing in church choir every summer. And then after that, I'd say maybe 4th or 5th grade, I started doing choir at school. And then especially when I got to middle school and moved, I was living in New York for 3 years from like 3rd grade to 5th grade. I moved back down to North Carolina, where I'm from. And there I really got my confidence and started building up. And I was in the school choirs. And then coming through high school, I was in choir. I was in show choir. I did theater. So I've done all types of choir, university choir, gospel choir. There's a lot of like an ensemble background. Even in college, I was a part of an a cappella group. So I always found a way to, I guess, do that, but always behind the guise of like an ensemble. I always just wanted to be a part. Until I got to college and I just was in this organization on campus called Panther Entertainment Group. I went to Georgia State, and we were basically like a group that it was almost like a mock record label on campus. And they had like A&Rs, they had managers, they had artists. But I came into the organization just saying I was going to be a songwriter. I'm like, I just want to write songs for people. I just want to produce and work behind the scenes. And as I started showing them my songs and singing them, the leader, who I call Prez, he was just like, it's absolutely unacceptable for you not to be a solo artist. You have the voice, you have the writing, you need to really go for this. And it was always something I thought I wanted in the back of my head, but never really had the confidence to go towards until they just started putting me through the ringer. You gonna sing here? You gonna sing here?
Yeah.
You gonna sing here until you get it. And I'm so thankful for that development, because had it not been for him, I don't know if I would be in the position I'm in today. So shout out to Prez, shout out to Panther Entertainment Group, now known as NSEG. But yes, I think that was like really the big start for me.
Yeah. Do you think because you were always a part of ensemble groups that it was basically your safety net, and then once you went to GSU, you had to step out of it quickly?
Absolutely. It was definitely a safety net to just know that there's just a group with you, a group behind you. Even when I was doing solos, I would do solos growing up, but I would always be up there shaky kneed, nervous to be standing up there by myself. But now growing up, and I'm 26 now, so growing up and being able to look back on life, I'm just so thankful to all the music educators I've come across and people in those spaces, because they always saw something in me that I wasn't able to see in myself. And they always put me in the position of, no, you're going to sing this solo. You're going to do this. You're going to step out in front. And it was something that I don't think I had. It wasn't something I could be gracious towards or grateful for growing up. But I will say now more than ever, I just thank all those people that always saw that in me before I was able to see it and feel it for myself, because who knows what I would be doing if they didn't. So shout out to music educators, because they are important.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And even when I see just your YouTube channel or just past like social clips of you performing, it feels very natural and it really comes across as like this is where you're supposed to be. And so I'm curious to know, like, when you are performing or just creating music in general, do you have any influences that you look up to?
Absolutely. I tell people I've been a Beyonce stan since birth. My mama said I couldn't talk, but I somehow asked for the Writings on the Wall album, and that was something for me. So I've always been a huge Beyonce fan. But in addition to her, Stevie Wonder, Whitney Houston, gospel singers. So I grew up loving the Clark sisters, especially Kiara and Karen. I grew up loving the Clark family, the Winans family. But I'd say there was a lot of different musical textures coming in growing up, because I had a mom that really listened to neo soul music and real that adult R&B contemporary. My dad, he was a wild card. He'd pull out some bluegrass on you, maybe some country music, some rock and alternative from back in the day. My grandmother, she was super Motown and Sam Cooke and gospel music. So it was so much influence and different sounds around me growing up that I'm also forever grateful for. It was, I have a very expansive musical palette, I think, because of all of the things and all of the inspirations that were coming in.
Absolutely. And I feel like when you have such a diverse background of like where you draw your inspiration from, it only helps the projects that you create, just be better and better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. As a songwriter, how do you approach a song? Like, does it start with the lyrics first, or is it the actual beat or the song?
A lot of times for me, it comes from, I love to keep a list of song titles. Song titles are really important to me. Just certain words or phrases that stick out, I'll just keep a list of them and write them. So sometimes it comes lyric first, where, especially for, I'd say majority of my life, I've never been diligent enough to learn an instrument. So I would sit down and just have all these arrangements and instruments in my head. Shout out to the acapella app. You remember that?
Yes.
I would sit on there and I would just create all the sounds of all the instruments and sing all the parts and kind of get my demos down that way for a long time. I would just sing the parts. And even to this day, I produce music and I'll get in a room with a producer and I can't play it, but I can sing you the part. I can sing you what I want to hear. I can mimic the sounds of the instruments. So that was a big piece of it for a long time, but it just kind of depends. Sometimes, especially lately, I've been getting a lot of beats that just inspire me there. So it'll start beat first, but I'd say primarily in life, it starts with the lyrics for me.
Yeah. When you're in the studio, what's your vibe when you are in there? Like, do you have to go early in the morning, or does it matter the time of day? Do you have to have candles lit? Like, what is your mood?
It is dark. If there's some mood lighting, I'll turn the mood lights on. I have like this little galaxy projector. I love having that on.
Ooh,
But I just want it to be me and the engineer, or me and whoever's working on the song.
right,
I don't know how people do studio sessions where they have like 50 niggas in the room. That is
right.
crazy. That is crazy to
Like it's a
me.
party. Yeah.
I'm just like, no, we're here to work. I'm here to record. I don't need people talking back to me and being like, oh, or maybe you should try this. No, I got that. I'm good as
Right.
far as any of the extra outside of opinion, everything. So I like it to be me and the engineer, a dark room. I'll have my tea, my galaxy light, and I'm ready to go.
Ooh, what type of tea do you like?
I love, throat coat. I love a throat
Okay.
coat. I love
Mhm.
peppermint tea, something like that. But those are usually my two primary go-tos.
When you're getting ready for a set, and I want to keep on in like that kind of like prep space, how do
Mm-hmm.
you prep your voice or preserve your voice when you have to sing or you have multiple show days in a row? Like, how do you prepare yourself?
Definitely warming up. Like I don't know if people take warming up and even warming down as or cooling down off of after a performance as seriously as you need to, but it just definitely helps with making sure that that stamina is there and that you're able to keep coming back and doing that. And for that, I'm grateful for especially college music and being able to go. When I was in college, I studied opera for a couple years. So to be able to be in that classical space and be able to really learn how to use my instrument and really learn how to sing and how to project and how to, even on the days where you don't completely have it, how to fake it, how far you can go and to know your limitations and where you can take it. So again, another big ups to music education because I wouldn't be
Yeah.
the vocalist I am without that classical background and without those teachings and people showing you this is how you do it. This is how you are able to stand and withstand all these shows and do these things. So I'd say it's definitely the warm ups are very, very important. As well as just like I said, knowing your limitations and how far you can take it.
Right. And so you bring up like your education in college and really like it, the training and the music education you learn from there. But for
Mm-hmm.
those who are like up and coming artists who may not have that background as you, do you
Yeah.
have any advice of like how they can still like learn how to properly warm up, or is there like a specific YouTube type of like searches they need to look up?
I was just about to say YouTube University is the
Mm, yeah.
biggest help, the biggest thing that can sit there and help you. There are so many wonderful people on there, wonderful warm-ups that you don't have to pay anything for. They'll show
Yeah.
you how to warm up, how to warm down. They'll take you through the exercises. There are a lot of places that will show you the technique and what you should be feeling. And it won't, of course, be that one-on-one experience, which I feel like that's something special in itself. If you are able to
Yeah.
do that, definitely do that. Definitely go and make sure you're with a vocal coach that you can trust and help let them carry you that way. But if you can't, get on that YouTube, get on that
Mhm.
TikTok, because the people are out there and they're creating the resources for us and they're endless. So I
Yeah.
definitely say go on YouTube and find what you're looking for because it's all out there. I still am a
And
big proponent of YouTube. I love it.
oh, absolutely, especially for me, like anything, they literally have it all in all the
Absolutely.
categories. Yeah, so we spoke a little bit, we just talked about TikTok, but as an artist, how important is social media for you? Like, has it helped your career, or was that the launching start of your career? Speak about social media.
I wouldn't say social media was the launch because I'll say for me, I've been hard headed for years on the social media tip because
Mm,
they tell you get on social media, get your face out there. And it truly is one of the easiest ways to reach a bigger audience, especially if you're not able to travel and get out there and meet people on the ground. We're all connected to our phones all day long. So I would say it wasn't the launching pad for me because for so long I was so against, and not even against it, but just not confident enough to show myself in that way. Where I feel like recently, and when I say recently, I mean in the last 8-9 months, I've finally been like, you know what? Let me break this wall. Let me figure out what's the best way to present myself. Let me find out what I'm comfortable with. Let me find out what I'm uncomfortable with, because I'm finally in a phase of life where I'm trying to go towards those things. Especially, I want to make this a career that's long lasting. I want to be able to build that fan base. You have to get on that social media and figure out where your space is and what that looks like. I would say now it's definitely helped me more than ever these last few months. I've been thankful to have a social media manager come into my life, someone who understands social media and loves it and lives for it and knows how it works. And thankfully, in my situation, that has helped me tremendously. He tells me what to do and I do it. I don't question it. I'm just like, I'm not going to tell you no. So that has helped me light years, and I think it's going to continue to build. I'm having fun with social media now because it's just like, I've just always thought I had to build a character or be someone else or diminish parts of myself. When in this day and age, more than ever before, people are craving authenticity. People are craving individuality, and they want to see people that they can relate to. And you can't really do that when you're attempting to be someone that you're not. And I had to learn that the hard way. But to anyone listening, please know that there's someone out there that relates to your story, that relates to your background, and you don't have to big anything up to be on social media. If you are just yourself, eventually the tribe will come and they will find you and be able to big you up as well.
Oh, that's such like a mic drop for so many points that like really can help all of us carry through in all of our backgrounds and journeys. And so you spoke about having a social media manager. Some creatives, they may feel, they may not feel comfortable giving other people responsibilities when it comes to handling their career or managing their career. How do you feel about having a team or finding the right people to make it all come together for you? Was it hard or easy?
It's definitely difficult. It's not an easy thing to do. It's a trial and error. It's one of those things where you have to be willing to go into a situation and give that trust, but then also be willing to say when it's not working anymore, or if it's not in your benefit. And it takes a lot of wherewithal and humility to just be able to first open yourself up to those experiences, but then also be able to speak up for yourself if something's not working. And it's not like I just found a team overnight. I've been through a lot of teams over the last few years of friends that were helping out, or colleagues I would find a lot of ways and or along the way. And it was very just up and down for a long time until I found the team that fit for me. So I would tell people, just don't ever get into a place where you feel like, oh, this isn't going to happen, or I can't find these people. They are out there. Also, social media again, because that's where I found my social media manager. On social media. It just happened to find him randomly one day. And honestly, it was really funny. Last year, it had to be the beginning of last year, I really sat down and just looked up to the sky and was like, look, I don't need management right now. I don't need anything. If you can give me anybody to just come into my life, I need someone that understands social media. I need someone who can get me out of my shell. I need someone who's willing to invest in me the way I would invest into them. And I met him a month later. Social media, and we've been locked in like this ever since. And that was just, I feel like that was a higher power. That was something else. Because I asked for it and then it came. It's not like that all the time. And also, it doesn't account for the 7 years before that where I was doing this and it wasn't there. So it's definitely a journey. And I think as you continue to have experiences and continue to go out there and put yourself out there, you'll find it. It'll come eventually. What's meant to be will be.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. And I'm glad that you are having a great partnership and collaboration with your social media manager, because
Absolutely.
you don't hear those success stories too often with teams. So that's
Yeah,
good that is working well for you. So like
absolutely.
for the listeners, y'all can't see Arsley, but he is rocking the most beautiful orange do-rag and beautiful teal. Is it like a teal type
Yeah,
color?
yeah, it's
So
giving
yeah,
teal.
yeah. So I was like, I just knew when I saw you, you was gonna have some type of orange, and I was just waiting for it. And you wear orange so well. I'm curious, like, is that all? Is that your favorite color, or is that just the vibe you're in right now? What is the story behind this orange aesthetic?
So as I talk, I've always loved music, but I've always loved music to an obsessive place. I'm someone that has always read liner notes. I'm someone that's always been obsessed with album packaging and how an artist and their image come across. Because at the end of the day, I know some people don't like to hear it, but when you're in front of these companies and when you're dealing with people, you are a product that needs to be sold and it has to be packaged
Yeah,
a certain way. And that's something I've always understood. So when I started making music in 2017, I told myself, I was like, I need some sort of identifier. I need some sort of thing that when people see it, they can automatically connect me to that thing. So
right,
for me, I made it the color orange. I just thought I've always grew up hating my clothes and not really liking what I wore because I just feel like men's clothes, especially if you're not high end, a lot of it is just giving forest green, burgundy, gray.
right.
I love vibrancy. I love color. I love bright things. I love clashing patterns and all that type of stuff. So for me, it was like the autonomy of being an adult finally and being like, okay, what represents where I want to be? What represents the energy I want to take on? And for me, it happened to be the color orange. And I stuck to it and just kept sticking it out for the last 7, 8 years. And it's now gotten to a point where I walk in the room, you know who I am. I'm wearing orange. You
Right.
know where I am at when I walk on social media. He's the orange guy. If you don't know my name, you know the color. And
Mm,
I just love that people have something that they can associate me with. Whereas if you don't know what's going on, you do know that that's the orange man walking in the room. If you've never
right.
seen me in person before, there's going to
Mhm.
be something at all
Oh,
times. And it looks good. It's fun. It goes with a
it
lot of
does.
things. It's vibrant. So it wasn't always my favorite color. When I grew up, I used to love purple, but purple wasn't working for the brand for me for some reason. I wanted it to give
Yeah,
sunshine. I wanted it to be vibrant. I always want I feel like I have a certain energy when I walk in the room. It's something
right.
I've noticed. So I wanted whatever I look and whatever I put myself in to represent that energy. So for me, orange did that. And we've just been, after I got my social media manager, he's like, oh, if
Mm.
orange is the brand,
We gonna
we're
yeah,
going to hit it and we're
take it,
going to
yeah.
take it all the way there. And he took it to the next level for me, where it's just like, oh, now people really see it and they recognize what it is. And I'm going to continue to do it. I love it.
Absolutely. We stand a good brand identity.
Absolutely.
And so like getting into like, orange, and honestly I feel like it's when I think of orange, I see summer, I see fun,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that you can carry this color in all the seasons throughout
Absolutely.
the year. So going back to your music, do you feel you've grown sonically from your earlier EPs with Summer Love to your latest with Love ARZLEE? Like, how do you feel about the growth moment?
Absolutely. I've grown so much. I just used to be such a impulsive person, and I still am impulsive in a lot of ways. I just don't give into the impulsivity as much as I used to. I feel like back in the day, I was just making music because I knew it was something I was good at. I knew it was something. It's just like, what are you gonna do with your life? There's nothing
Yeah,
else I've ever loved like I've loved music. So it was just always something I pursued, but I don't think I was ever able, like I said earlier in the conversation, to appreciate the journey I was on and to appreciate
yeah,
what was happening around me. I feel like also in my earlier music, I was playing somewhat of a role, and not saying I was trying to be a completely different person, but I was not completely open to who I am personality wise. And I don't feel like that showed in my music. And especially I'd say coming out of Summer Love, my music became very much like diary entries for me. I had a lot of traumatic events happen around 2018, 2019, and that just became the soundtrack of my life for the next 3 to 4 years. Whereas now I feel like I'm able to make music from a fun place again. I'm able to have fun with it. And that's what Love ARZLEE is. Love ARZLEE is the culmination of all these years of experience, but it's finally me, and it's finally my personality. It's finally that vibrancy that I've talked about, that feel that I've always been looking for. I feel like I was finally able to package it in a project where I look at even the promo pictures from the Love ARZLEE era, and I'm just like, who is that? That I was never able to be that person before. I was never able. I feel like that photo shoot is where I felt the most alive I've ever felt in life.
Wow.
I was just like, from the way I was styled to the way everything came out and was edited, it was just like, that's ARZLEE. And I feel like Love ARZLEE, while like Summer Love and the early projects, that was the birth, this is the rebirth. And I'm fully able to be ARZLEE, but also not let Malik, my actual name, go. He's still here, and he's in this vessel as well. And I get to be all of those things at once. And that's what I never allowed myself the space to have before. So Love ARZLEE is definitely the culmination of that comfort finally. And that just not giving a F about what the whole world and what the outside, or how does this come off? Or I was very much like, I don't know if I want people to see me that way, but this is who I am. And music, people go to music for an escape. People go to music and musicians to feel things that they aren't able to express or do in their day-to-day life. So I want to be that escape. I want to represent all of those things. And I am all of those things, but I think I finally allow myself to be.
That's so beautiful to hear, because I feel like a lot of people, they haven't tapped into their full versions of themselves yet.
Yeah.
And for those, it's coming up recently. I feel like, especially like during the pandemic time, a lot of people, we were isolated, and we really had to like think within ourselves and try to like have that reflection of like, okay, what do I want to do for my life? Where do I want to go next? And so it's beautiful that with this Love ARZLEE project, we see all the parts of you.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
And I will say it wouldn't have happened without the pandemic. That is exactly what the pandemic was for me. I was just moving through life, and I don't think I was living it. It was living me. And I was just allowing things to happen and just kind of numb for a long time. Whereas the pandemic finally gave, at least for me, the time to sit down and figure out what I really wanted out of this life, to figure out what happened in the past, or why certain other situations hadn't worked out, or why did this thing happen. And I think the pandemic just really allowed me that space to discover who I am for real. And yeah, I'm thankful for that bit of time. Not all the horrible things and the tragic things that happened during the pandemic, but definitely that space to be able to sit for a while and really discover who I am, what I want, and what I want my life to look like.
Listen, you are preaching to me, because my podcast was birthed during the pandemic. I've been sitting on this dream for years, but one of my favorite Beyonce songs is The Green Light. That's what the show is named after, because one of my favorite lines, it says, "You're holding up traffic, green means go." And so the whole purpose of this show and connecting with creatives is to like, what are the things, or what were the steps that led them to like give themselves permission to go for it. And so I love that, how sharing your story and hearing about how you really, you're letting your fans and listeners who will grow to love your music, to really hear the story of why we really get to see you now fully in your music. So thank you for sharing. Yeah. And so we spoke about Love ARZLEE, but I also wanted to talk about Press Play. What was it like creating that project?
Press Play, it was so fun. I think so. Another thing that came with the pandemic was those checks for a while. And Press Play was like, just an investment back into myself. For the first time, I was just like, oh, I'm sitting around, all this free money coming in. Let me do something. And it was kind of like, I think especially Press Play represented, I had stopped making music or moving forward in music for about a year or so. So Press Play was me telling myself like, okay, I've been paused for a while. And I think it even says that on the record on Play. I forgot it's a Tiffany Pollard quote that we put at the beginning. It was like, I've been on pause, but I'm finna press play in a motherfucking minute. And that's what that was for me. It was kind of like Press Pause. The song was a representation of all the things I had been through. I kind of talked about my suicidal ideation in that song, and kind of like being really down and not wanting to be on the earth anymore, and kind of like explaining why I had stopped for a year, why I wasn't making music. I had to pause my life. I had to pause at least that part of my life to get the rest of it together, because if you're not here mentally, the music will never come. Right. And I just felt like I was in a writer's block for so long. So Press Play at that time for me was me saying, I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep doing this. It has been really hard, but also just wanting people to know in that time, because I created that in the span of the beginning of the pandemic, you're not alone. We are all in this together. We all had to press pause on our lives, but after this, we're going to press play again and be able to do everything we wanted to do. So kind of like using that time to the best of your advantage, doing what you can, but what you have. That was another big thing. I always thought I needed these big budgets, and I needed this company. I needed this record label to come in. And that was the first time I was like, I don't need any of that. I don't need any backing. I don't need the cosign of someone for me to make music. It kind of like was me coming back to my purpose. I make this music for me. At the end of the day, I make it because I enjoy it. I make it because it feeds me. So that was my intention for Press Play, to continue to feed myself and to continue to put that music out despite what life looks like, despite what my fears look like, and just put that out and be as raw, as honest as I can.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's amazing. And with you just sharing a little bit about your testimony, I'm sure as an artist, you've experienced the highs and the lows.
Absolutely.
How do you keep your mental health at bay and as you ride the highs, but not stay too into, the low moments? How do you kind of like balance it all?
I'd say taking that time when you need it. I think a lot of times, especially in today's culture, social media, I somewhat believe we're not supposed to be this connected in this way. We're not supposed to see everything as people.
Yeah.
And I think social media is like, it's a highlight reel at the end of the day. And I think people forget that. And you can go on there and you can see the best of everybody's lives, but who's really wants to share their downs? Who really wants to share when things aren't good? So I think I would say, at least in my case, and to anyone that's listening that feels that way, don't feel like taking time for yourself is leaving you behind. Don't feel like taking time for yourself is going to remove your dream or that possibility from you, because it's actually going through all that pain or going through all that trauma and not stopping, not taking a second to get it together, that's going to end up burning you out in the end. And that's something that I ran into multiple times, where it's just like not addressing the things that's happening, just allowing life to live you, and just, I'm just going to keep going and keep going and keep going. You can only go for so long before you have to stop and look internally, before you have to stop and really breathe and take that time for yourself. So I'd say just to give yourself grace, to take the time that you need to get over things, because life is hard out here. It ain't simple. It's hard, and it's probably only going to get harder from here. But
exactly. Yeah.
But definitely give yourself that time and that space to do whatever you need to do, and be honest with yourself. Because if you can't be honest with yourself, like you end up in a gang of trouble. And I lived it. And if I can stop anyone else from going down that same path or hitting those walls, I would say just take that time for yourself and really, really give yourself grace, because
Absolutely. And
you
then
have
you
to.
spoke earlier about having a team or finding the right people. So I guess also having a good village around you
Absolutely.
helps too. Yeah.
Absolutely. But also, I would tell people sometimes your village ain't your village forever as well. So
Mm.
also be willing and give yourself that. It's all about being honest.
Yeah.
I'm now in a place where I'm trying to live my life as honest as what's most true to myself. So some people are for a time and a season as well. I think a lot of
Yeah.
times we can get locked up in what we want relationships to look like and what we want connections and the people that we meet and our friends and our colleagues, what we want that
Right.
relationship to be, that we don't just take it for what it is. And that is
Hmm.
something that held me back for a long time, where you're just wanting this thing and you're wanting, oh, this is what it's supposed to look like. This is what it is. It's gonna happen. Well, baby, if it's been 3 years and it ain't happened, it probably ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
You gotta let people who are for a season be for that season, and be grateful for that season. Be grateful for what they did pull you through. Be grateful for what they did do, but also be true enough to yourself to be like, you know what? I need to remove myself from this person. I need to remove myself from this situation, from this thing, in order to grow and still see my blessings in everything that's coming for me come to me, because it can't all be forever.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're literally speaking to me and just everybody who feels the same way. Everybody cannot be a day one, or, some people are just there for that stepping stone or just for that
Yeah.
season. So, yeah.
And there's still love and there's still
Yeah.
all of that. Like, none of the experiences that you have are negated. Like, if
Mhm.
that person was that for you at that time, celebrate that, love that, and be thankful for that time period, because some people never get to see it. Some people never feel that community, never get to experience that type of love and connection in that way. Be thankful for those times, and then be thankful for what you have now and move on. Like,
Yeah.
you have to. That's the only way you see growth. That's the only way you stay true. I think that's the biggest thing for me, is just staying true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's really profound. This whole conversation has been on a kind of like, I want to keep it on like a lighter note. What
Hmm.
brings you the most satisfaction, performing on stage or writing and getting into the music process of it?
Okay, I love writing, but there is
Mm.
nothing like the live experience. There is nothing like being in front of a crowd. Not even just being in front. I love going to concerts. I'll go to anybody's concert. I love the
Yeah.
live music experience. There's just nothing like that transfer of energy, the lights, the band, if you have one behind you. There's nothing like that experience, and there's nothing that can recreate that experience. And we talk about the people who are my influences and my favorite artists. You get their best showcasing when you're at a show. You
Yeah.
never get to feel or experience that artist like you can at a show. So I definitely say performing is paramount for me. I love being on the
Mhm.
stage. I love talking to a crowd. I love having a microphone in my hand, because you got to listen to me until I put this microphone down. It's my
Okay.
time. I love that. And I'm living for it, and just open to all the experiences that are going to come from that. I'm ready to get to bigger stages and bigger heights.
Mm.
And I'm just kind of working to get there now, because the stage is infectious for me. I love
Yeah.
being up there. I love singing. I love performing. I love being able to tell my story, and
Mm.
people relate to that. I love being able to be an escape for people. I love being able to
Mm.
be the real for people. I'd say some of my
Yeah.
music, especially like on the EP segments, that project, some of the material on there was heavy. Some of on it was me talking about an assault I experienced a couple years ago, or how I came over that on the song Close. Close is like my testimony, I'd say, where I'm just like, I was so close to not living the life I'm living right
Mm.
now, because I was going to give it all up.
Yeah.
And for people to come to you after the show, after they hear the music, and be like, thank you for that. I needed that for this time that I'm in this space in
Mm.
my life. It's one thing to see it on social media, that feels great, but to look a
Right.
person in their eye and get to hear their
Mm.
story after you shared yours, or just for them to be like, you know what, that did a lot for me. That song changed my life, or the way you sang this, or there's nothing like that person to person connection. And
Absolutely.
that's what just takes live performing through the roof for me. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And if you're listening, book me. Yes.
Okay.
I want to
Yes.
come any and everywhere. No pun intended. I do. I want to be everywhere. I want to see all of y'all beautiful faces. So hit those DMs, hit that email.
Do you have any like dream collaborations, whether it's like the performing aspect of it or songwriting that you would love to collaborate with, or just write songs for other artists?
Yes, I'd say Beyonce, I just want to be a fly on the wall. All right, I'll be able to, but it's gonna take me a second. I'll do anything to sit in a space with her and connect for a bit. But other than her, because just know she's always paramount for me.
Yeah.
That woman is sick, and there's a lot of. I'm not even gonna get into that because I'll go down a rabbit hole. But I really want to make a R&B album with Tyler the Creator. That's one of my biggest dreams. I love his production. I love his story. I've been a fan of his since I was in middle school. And I would love just his love for chords and the way that he talks about music and how it affects him.
Yes.
I would love for him to produce an R&B project for me. I would love to write songs for Flo, the girl group.
Ooh, I love them.
Those are my babies. I don't know those women, but I love y'all to death. I love girl groups. I've always loved groups, as we talked about earlier.
Right, the ensembles, yeah.
I've always loved ensembles. So to have a girl group that's giving that essence that we had back in the day, and that professionalism and that love and camaraderie they have for each other, I would give anything to write for them or to write with them. But my list is endless. I could go on and on about the collaborators and the people I want to work with. I really want to sit in a room with Babyface. I really want to work with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. They are two of my musical heroes because I'm such a huge Janet and Usher and Babyface and all the people they've worked with. I'm such a fan and a enthusiast of R&B music. So there's so many people and places I want to be and people I want to work with. The list is endless. I could go on forever. But I'd say the ones I listed are kind of the tops for me at the moment.
For sure. And honestly, like I see all this for you. I want this all for you.
Thank you.
You have such an infectious like energy and just a vibrant spirit, not only just with the orange aesthetic, but really like inside out. I haven't personally met you, but I can just see all of that, on screen and, just how you move on social media. So I can only imagine those who are in close proximity with you, they always get to see this type of vibrant personality and spirit.
I would say it hasn't been forever though. I feel like of course I've always been a character. I've always been eclectic, but I used to be a person that really let the darkness and the jadedness of life get to me. And I would just be in a hole for weeks, for months, and not come out of that. So to hear you say that, I would just say, I'm just so thankful for this journey and for this life, because it hasn't always been like this.
Right.
And I haven't always had this sunshine. Like, there was a time where I had to fake it. And now I can say that's just my day to day. I'm happy to wake up. I'm happy to be here. I'm so thankful that I get to pursue my dreams and the things that I've always wanted to do, but just didn't know if I was capable. But I finally do know I am capable. I know that I'm supposed to be here. I am thankful for the space that I'm allowed to take up and for the spaces that I'm allowed to be in. Like, I've never wanted to do anything else. So to live this life, even from where I'm sitting right now, it's just, I'm just so grateful. I get emotional about it because life wasn't always like this for me. And I feel like I'm finally in a place where I'm able to accept the things that are coming for me, because before I always thought I was ready, but I wasn't. And now I'm in a place where I can say I really am.
You are, yeah. Yeah, and I think it's amazing when we all, life is just so much sweeter when we have like that spirit of gratitude around us, because it hasn't always been where we are or what the spaces we're in now. We had to come from somewhere and experience some good and bad and everything in between. So that's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, gratitude. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful for this life and grateful for the times that I get to have and things I do get to experience moving forward. It's only going to get bigger and better from here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like this is a beautiful note to wrap up our amazing call. I really could just talk forever, but I know
Same.
you have things to do for sure. But to officially wrap up, I always ask each guest before the show ends to give me 2 songs that best represent their personality. I have a playlist at the end of every season where I ask guests. Sometimes it's hard for them to choose, but because you are an artist yourself, I'm going to flip it. So you can still give me 2 songs that you like from other people, but if you were introducing people to your music, what are 2 songs you would tell them about yourself?
Oh, right off the bat, I got it. If you are listening to ARZLEE for the very first time, I would say pull up Pottery from the Love ARZLEE project. And I would say to pull up Castaway from the Summer Love project.
Oh,
those are the 2 songs where if you want to know who I am as an artist, I'm an R&B kid. I love Black music. I love Black people. It's always been my dream and love to be embraced by my community. I love. And I feel like those 2 songs, if you're getting into ARZLEE for the first time, that's the best place to start.
Yes, it is love personified for sure.
Absolutely.
I love those too. Yeah, good choices.
Okay,
do you have
cool.
Other 2 songs from just other artists, or we can just end on a high note with just you?
You know what?
I love a shameless plug. Yeah,
I love a shameless plug too.
We're gonna keep it all ARZLEE. Yes.
Stream
Pottery.
ARZLEE.
Yes. Pottery and Castaway. Those are the songs to know from ARZLEE, but as well
Absolutely.
as Love ARZLEE, the EP streaming everywhere.
Yes, and keep your eyes out for the deluxe. I'm putting that out soon of the Love ARZLEE project. It's called Love Lux. I'm giving y'all more R&B love. I'm giving y'all a taste of where I'm moving, because I'd say I'm moving a little into a different place sonically. It's still R&B and it's still soulful, but it's going to be a little bit more pop. It's going to be a little bit more fun. And I'd say that's coming up very soon. So look up for the deluxe and all the music that I have coming out soon, because this ARZLEE journey is only getting bigger and better. So yeah, I love y'all. I love you for having me. Thank you so much.
I love you too. And honestly, y'all, if y'all, please really take it to heart everything that ARZLEE has said, and his love and his passion behind his music and R&B. And for those Twitter fingers who love to say R&B is dead, this is living proof that it's still alive, it's thriving, it has never left, it's never been dead, it never gave dead.
It
so
never
this
gave
is
dead.
it. Never
we
gave
still
dead.
Out here writing, we still out here singing, we still out here arranging, we still out here making our music. You have to come find us, and when you do find us, you have to go out of your way to amplify us. Because if you want music to get better, you gotta go find these indie artists that are out here. There's so many people out here hustling. Shout out to me. Shout out to Jazzy the rapper. Shout out to Jawan MP3. Shout out to Brick. Shout out to Samo. Shout out to all of these R&B and hip hop artists that are out here on the ground really working to get that thing to the next level, because we're out here. All the stuff that you said is missing, it's here. It's here, baby.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, ARZLEE. I really appreciate our chat.
Thank you. I love this and can't wait to talk to you again. You got to come out to a show.
I should, and I am. Okay. Oh, for sure, yes.
I'm going to hold you to it.
If you love today's guest and our Greenlight Convo, please tell someone, your mama, daddy, cousin, sister, brother, auntie, uncle, about the show, and be on the lookout for the next episode.